Make that process smooth and successful. Call Ken with Brokers Insurance Agency today at 402-420-5353 or visit brokersinsurancene.com.
Here's to days spent roaming and to sleeping beneath the stars, to casting another line and letting time float by. From Shadron State Park to Indian Cave State Park and every recreation area, historical, and state park in between. Here's to your adventures, your memories. Here's to 100 years of your Nebraska state parks. Plan your next trip today at nebraskaparks100.org. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is the Happy Hour.
You guys going to happy hour?
Live from the Koppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, maybe I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday. Welcome in. This is the Happy Hour. 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Nick Sainert with you today. Flying solo on a Monday. For those of you on the stream, I had to fix my camera. I know I'm not the prettiest looking guy in the world, but I had to make sure my whole face was in there. As always, 402-464-5685. You can chime into the show all hour long on the Honda of Lincoln hotline, Starter Heyman text line, as well as on the Starter Heyman video stream, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We can throw your comment up on the screen. We have a lot of stuff to get to today, as always. It's a Monday. Something not so happy happened over the weekend. However, one thing we always have to get to is the first text. So once again, 402-464-5685. I was taking a look right when the KNTK legal ID hit. It was 2:01. And it was Micah. Micah, the first-time winner of nothing on this Monday post Week 0 matchup against Illinois. Unnamed texter says it's the happy hour talk volleyball so we can be happy. We will. We'll get some volleyball in there. However, we need to address some things first. And Qdoba guy says, "Don't worry, we will be nice to you today. I promise." Don't worry about that. I'm not worried about that. You can be as ruthless as you want to be. I'm okay with it because Saturday was a tough day for all of us. And maybe you're in that boat of, oh, I knew it was coming. I mean, there was some texts that were coming in during the post-game show saying, oh, I saw this coming. We all know everything. We knew that this offensive line wasn't going to show up. We knew that eventually they were going to fall back on Adrian Martinez running the football. And oh, Nick, you said Adrian Martinez was going to be the player of the game. How dare you? Well, I truly thought that it was going to be a little bit better of a showing from the Huskers offense for sure. The defense played all right, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth here in a couple minutes. Somebody asked, is Rico in hiding? No, he's just not here today. His support for Adrian. That was one of the questions I was going to ask him is, do you still are you going to allow some Adrian Martinez slander today? So, but unfortunately, Rico is not here today, so it's only me, and we're going to talk about everything. So this is where I want to check in with you guys. How was the weekend? If you heard the student section on Sunday with me and Big Sky, you kind of heard, You kind of heard what my thoughts were a day after the game. 2 days, there's nothing really that's changed necessarily. There's just been some more stats that I've dug up from recent years. And if you follow me on Twitter at Nick_Sainert, you would have seen the tweet last night, giving you a little bit of an insight of what we're going to talk about today. So, however, since I was not here at the station or on air earlier today, what's your guys' reaction? What's 2 days removed from Illinois? This is where I want to hear from you guys. Once again, 402-464-5685. What are you guys feeling today? Scott Frost talked earlier today, just a little bit ago, probably hour and a half ago, maybe. So we'll dive into some of the stuff. He said there was nothing like that stood out necessarily, but there were a couple of alarming things that we're definitely going to get to. And so we'll see what happens there. So what are you guys feeling? Is it, are you numb? Are you just, it is what it is? Another disappointing season. On the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, John says bench Martinez. That's one thing we're going to talk about later today. And I'm not sure we should be so quick to just throw him to the bench. And so, once again, all show long, 402-464-5685. All right, let's move on. Scott Frost, head football coach, spoke earlier today. His postgame was just he straight up said, same movie. That was basically the main quote that came out of it. Same movie, it always happens again. Our O-line didn't really protect well enough. Adrian, he was actually felt like Adrian played all right. And obviously that was before he looked at the film. So today, first thing he says is he felt good about the effort. He said there was just catastrophic plays that kind of hurt them in the end, didn't protect Adrian well enough. This was the interesting one. And let's see if I can find this clip in our folder here. He was asked about the punters. And he was asked how he felt about the punters, and more specifically Daniel Cherney and just special teams in general. And here's Scott Frost.
Both punters have been doing exceptionally well in practice. His first effort, I expected to get a lot better. Probably some nerves and things there, but there's a lot of hidden yardage. They got a couple punts and pinned us, and we had chances to do it and didn't. We put a lot of emphasis on special teams. Thought the coverage units did a really good job. Made the one critical error on punt return and did what we weren't trained to do and coached to do, and got to punt a little better, and then obviously missed 2 extra points. Those are some of the mistakes we can't have happen.
Like you just said, some of those mistakes you can't have happen, which we all understand that. And that was the first thing. When did the script change for you guys? When did it switch? When did the switch flip in the game? Was it when Cam Taylor-Britt just tried to make a play and obviously fielded that punt? And that day, the first thing that I instantly thought of when Cam Taylor-Britt was standing at the 10-yard line, being aware, and I said this yesterday, is it feels like this Husker team just isn't aware of what's going on necessarily. And you can relate that to Adrian Martinez. You can relate it to the offensive line. There's one holding call that blatantly sticks out for me on a play. I believe it was the first play of the fourth quarter. And speaking of, it was the way I look at it with Cam Taylor-Britt's punt. It's like in baseball when you're bunting a ball and you're telling the defense that you're sacrificing a bunt and everything. You stick that barrel of that bat at the top of the strike zone, and that way, as a hitter, if the pitch is above the barrel of the bat, it's a ball. It's as simple as that. So that's where I instantly thought of, if you're Cam Taylor-Britt in that situation, it's okay. I plant my feet at the 10-yard line. I am aware. I understand that the wind is, and I'm not saying the wind is the, you die by the wind or whatever, but you understand that the wind is blowing the ball back towards the end zone, towards your back. And that if the ball goes over your head or way over your head, or you just read it, you probably shouldn't catch it. You probably shouldn't try to be the hero. And that's kind of what it felt like all day Saturday, is that guys were trying to be the hero. Guys were trying to do too much. And does that show a lack of trust in the play calling? Does that show just a lack of trust in teammates? I thought that was all. We heard that last week about how that was all settled and that teammates and the players were resolving the quote unquote fires that were happening before they reached Scott Frost's desk. So it's kind of interesting. And there were so many points. Another point that I looked to at that was just being aware was, I think it was the first play of the fourth quarter, and Adrian had to, and obviously we're going to talk about the O-line. We have a full week to kind of dissect this even a little bit more. And I don't want to spend too much time on it because, yes, it is the happy hour. And it really stunk losing to an Illinois team that you kind of just felt shouldn't have won. Talent-wise, looking strictly at talent, Illinois should not have beaten Nebraska. And so one other play, first play of the fourth quarter, and you can go back and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Adrian Martinez had to scramble out of the pocket and run, and it was 1st and 10. And 10 yards away from where Adrian ran out of bounds or was down or whatever, holding penalty on the offensive line. And I understand holding happens on every play. I get that. There's that saying. I understand that. However, bear hugging a guy when the ball carrier is 10 yards away and that costs your team basically 20 yards in total to make it 1st and 20. That's stuff that with the kind of team that Nebraska is, when you're talking about a team that's fragile, a penalty and a play like that can kill a drive. It can kill a drive. And so there was a lot of interesting things that came out of that game on Saturday. And so obviously special teams wasn't great. Offensive line wasn't too great. Frost was asked about Caleb Tanner. He didn't really comment on Caleb Tanner's penalty, how he felt about it. Just basically said, you can't bury the guy into the turf. And then he also called that play the biggest play of the game. And so that's where I'm coming in at you guys. When did that switch flip to say, oh, this one, doesn't feel like Nebraska is really going to be able to get on top of them? Not because Illinois is that much better, but because Nebraska can't get out of their own way. So when did that switch flip for you guys? 402-464-5685. We'll get to a couple of the texts here towards the end of the segment. Unnamed texter says the Adrian fumble. Yeah. Also, that was pretty alarming when, Jake Happer and Bach and I were watching the game and here at the studio. And towards the end of the first half, when it was, we saw Nebraska trying to hurry up and run the ball or run plays before the first half ended. It was like, whoa, this just does not feel good. We need to calm down here because we're getting into a rush. They just scored on a scoop and score on a play where the pocket collapsed in a heartbeat. Adrian also on that play, if you go back and watch that play, and I think DP put this out on Twitter today, and this is where I got it, when he was breaking down his thoughts on the game with some video. On that play where the fumble happened, there was a guy wide open right in the middle of the field. Early on in the play, there was a guy, I believe it was on the top side of the field, on the far end. Is that because of Adrian just missing the read? Is that because the pocket collapsed too quick and this offensive line didn't do their job? Is it a combination of both? Also, I said this when I was on the Tom and Bach show a little bit ago, and we'll dive into this a little bit more. I just want to preview what we're going to discuss and get your guys' thoughts right out of the gate here. Was it just me, or did it just look like Nebraska had zero sense of urgency? No sense of urgency. Especially in the final quarter, in their second to last drive, where they put, if it was in the first quarter, they put a very high quality drive together. And I don't want to say this wrong, so I need to look this up on the stat line. So give me 1 second here, but I believe it was, let's see, drive chart. There it is. Okay, they got the ball after forcing a punt. it was after a punt, after they forced Illinois to punt, a 19-play, 76-yard drive. That took 7 minutes off the clock. 6 minutes and 52 seconds to be exact. When the clock is not on your side, to be fair, it was a very good drive, like probably the best drive, like well put together, quality overall drive of the game. I mean, the 75-yard touchdown run from Adrian was a little bit of a defensive breakdown, I believe. Maybe the best put together drive of the game happened when you needed to go quick and have a sense of urgency. And with Scott Frost, his offense, you're supposed to be able to go quick. And that's where my tweet from last night came into play. Let me read this stat for you guys. Because I just think Nebraska's lacking a sense of rhythm on offense. Whether that's, the inability to run the football or inability to hit guys open in the end zone. You know what I mean? So Illinois slowed down Nebraska by slowing down their offense, which we knew that was how Brett Bielema was going to run his offense. Even if the running game doesn't work, that's my identity. I'm going to run it down your throat, and you're going to get tired eventually. And we saw that on the first drive of the third quarter. At Oregon, Scott Frost ran a play every 18 seconds. Obviously, I understand the Pac-12 is not the Big Ten. I understand there's different body types. I get that. I also understand that Marcus Mariota is not Nebraska's quarterback. And DeAnthony Thomas is not in the backfield. I get that. At UCF, it slowed down a little bit. Scott Frost ran a play every 23 seconds. Why 23? Why did it probably slow down? Well, if you remember correctly, UCF was ahead in a lot of their games. And so in terms of, Scott Frost's playbook, slowing it down, they probably slowed it down a little bit towards the end of the game when they were up by multiple scores. Quick hitting offense. The quicker you score, the less time you use, which means the average will be bigger. At Nebraska in 2018, in his first season against Minnesota, a game possibly one of the best put together games in Scott Frost's time at Nebraska. You can go Minnesota, you can go Bethune-Cookman, which you can kind of take that with a grain of salt. Maryland in 2019. 2018 against Minnesota, they ran a play every 19 seconds. It was Adrian Martinez. Just to bring back some memories here. Adrian Martinez passing that game, 25 of 29, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I would complain, or I would argue that Nebraska has better talent on their roster right now than they did in 2019. Divino's, I would, even despite how bad the running backs looked, or not bad maybe, because you can't really blame them for their performance, but I mean, it was Divine Ozigbo and Maurice Washington in 2019. Ozigbo had 12 carries, 152 yards. Adrian Martinez, 15 carries, 125 yards. And Maurice Washington, 14 carries, 109 yards. And Nebraska put up, I think, 53 on that day. On Saturday, Nebraska ran a play every 24 seconds. Slower than they did at UCF. However, is it just flat out lack of identity? Is that what's going on? Is that what we're all looking for? Is Nebraska to have an identity? Just trying to figure out, why is Nebraska abandoning the run after just a couple times of it not working and getting stuffed? Gabe Ervin had 12 carries to lead the true running backs. Adrian Martinez obviously led in the rushing department, but Marquise Stepp only had a few, which I would argue Marquise Stepp, he looks like a Big Ten running back. He also showed the ability to receive or to catch a ball on that wheel route. I believe he went for 30 yards on that wheel route. And so, I just wonder if Nebraska is trying to find themselves, just trying to find their identity, which if that's it, man, you can't switch it up just in a blink of an eye when something doesn't work. It's that whole adversity thing. When adversity punches you in the face, are you going to, fold and switch your game plan, or are you going to say, no, we truly believe that this game plan will work, and this is what we're going to do? Because towards the end, I just think that I'm trying to think how I want to word this here. I just feel like Adrian Martinez, you could kind of tell towards the end once he started running it more, not only because the offensive line was not necessarily doing their job as well as we'd hope, but he just kind of looked like he felt like he needed to put the whole team on his shoulders. And then that's where you get into that department of trying to do too much. As always, 402-464-5685. Chime into the show all day long. Let's get to some of your texts here. Back to the question of when did it kind of seem like the switch flipped. Bucko says the switch flipped when Scott Frost was still our head coach. That's when I knew we won't win any games. Drumstick, the fumble right before half. Adrian needs to be benched. No other Husker quarterback in the history of Nebraska football has had a longer leash. Yeah, Big Sky said something interesting yesterday about how he's kind of and I wish Big Sky was here. Maybe tomorrow I'll have Big Sky join if Rico's absent still, because he has a different insight of he said that Scott Frost, it kind of feels like Scott Frost has tied himself to Adrian Martinez and vice versa. And so I don't want to say, what he's done. I don't want to, discredit Big Sky on that. So 402-464-5685 Honda Lincoln Hotline. Let's go to the phones. We have Jack on the line. Jack, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Not too bad. Barring everything that's going on. What's up?
No, I just wanted to get back to your question at the beginning of the hour where you're asking, where did we start to lose faith in the Huskers during the game? And for myself, it was definitely after that crucial error where that resulted in the safety with Cam Taylor-Britt. It seemed, it's been special teams issues plaguing the Frost era since the get-go, but it harkened back to even issues under the Riley troop and not knowing what to do in special teams. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that really set it off for me was, and I believe the commentators on the telecast made the same comment, that Nebraska's defensive line towards the tail end of the half had hands on hips. When you're starting to, and I get it was, a billion degrees on the field, mm-hmm. but when you're starting the first game of the year, week 0, after coming off of what's supposedly been the best camp ever under the Frost tenure, you would expect to see a D line that had been executing very well up until that point. They really started to look tired and poor, and I think it comes back to strength and conditioning there. And then you see that on the tail side of the offensive line through pretty much the whole game where, like you said earlier, there's probably going to be a hold at every point in the game, but, bear hugging a guy, having arms across the body, lack of discipline there resulting in flags and penalties and setting yourself back. And it's just a continuation of the same problems. And it really makes you wonder, does this staff fully understand how to analyze the football team they have in front of us? We've had 4 years where every year we come in and, Scott Frost has said this is the best it's ever been. And I get there's the building portions of that, but do they fully understand how to analyze what they're looking at?
Yeah. Awesome.
I'll get off the line.
I appreciate the call, Jack. We actually have Big Sky himself. Big Sky himself was listening and heard me say his name. And so Big Sky, will bring you in. Explain to all the listeners yesterday that weren't listening to the student section yesterday, your theory about, tying Scott Frost to, Adrian Martinez and vice versa there.
Well, I think what a lot of Husker fans are falling into the trap of is just saying that Scott Frost is only tying his coaching future to Adrian Martinez. Mm-hmm. I think that is true, but also Adrian Martinez is tying his football future to Scott Frost. And I think that's where Husker fans are getting tripped up. They're saying, Scott Frost is going to fail at Nebraska because of Adrian Martinez. I think it's a two-way street. They're both relying on each other.
Yeah.
That's what I said yesterday on the student section, and I think it's a little bit dishonest to put it all on Adrian and say, well, Scott Frost is going to fail because Adrian. Like, no, they're failing together if they fail.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Big Sky, for clearing that up. I didn't want to say something wrong and hurt your name there. So I appreciate you calling in, man. So yeah, and I understand that, we have this text from Ryan in Nashville. They aren't tied to each other. He literally benched him during his prime year for Luke McCaffrey, and Luke couldn't throw. And you have to admit, we all wanted Luke pulled. So that's where I want to get to this next segment here. Here's what I thought about that, because I thought that same thing. Oh, that he was okay with benching Adrian last year. However, Luke came in and looked barely serviceable. I think we can all agree on that, how he looked yesterday. And so this is something to watch down the road. I'm not necessarily saying that everybody's calling for Adrian Martinez to get benched. I'm not saying I'm calling for Adrian Martinez to get benched, but this thought came across my mind earlier today, and I want your guys' thoughts on this as well. 402-464-5685. Down the road, and obviously against Fordham and Buffalo, we might not learn a ton from Adrian Martinez and what he's going to look like this year. But if Adrian continues the mistakes and turns the ball over eventually and stuff, does the staff feel comfortable benching him? And you can go with that with two ways. You can say, if they are, then they're confident in what they have behind him. However, on the flip side of that, if they keep Adrian in, what does that tell you about the guys behind him? Because one of the guys behind him, in Logan Smothers, highly touted recruit out of high school. However, been here a couple years, hasn't seen the field necessarily. But what's that tell you about the guys behind Adrian if time after time again, Adrian's going to make mistakes, yet this coaching staff doesn't bench him? Because now Luke's gone. So that whole thought of them benching him for Luke is out the window, because Luke's not here anymore, obviously. And we all know that. And so what does that tell you about not necessarily the coaching staff, but what does that tell you about the guys in the quarterback room behind Mr. Number 2? Let's go ahead and take a break. Keep sending your thoughts and texts, 402-464-5685. Appreciate you guys calling in, both Jack and Big Sky, obviously. And I appreciate all the thoughts and opinions on the text line. We'll get to a lot of these after the break here. They're still rolling in. So I appreciate you guys entertaining me while this happy hour continues. Up next on The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Mike Schaefer here with 5-star child care provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need, while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
One host has a red beard and thinning hair. The other also has a red beard and thinning hair. One host got married over the summer. So did the other one. One is a diehard fan of a sub-500 AL Central baseball team. So is the other. Can these two radio hosts do a show together without getting confused as to their own identity? The same couple. Happer and Schaefer. Weekday mornings from 8 to 11 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Ready for this?
1, 2, 3, up.
At Madonna Rehabilitation Hospitals, we help rebuild the lives of people who've experienced traumatic illness and injury. With clinical expertise, cutting-edge research, and innovative technology, Madonna delivers world-class rehabilitation for adults and children. We restore hope one step, one word, and one breakthrough at a time, so our patients and their families can have confidence when we tell them, now you can. Learn more at Madonna.org.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Mostly cloudy skies this morning should give way to a bit of afternoon sunshine. We'll top out near 83. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15. We will be tracking a chance of thunderstorms by this afternoon into this evening and the possibility of isolated severe thunderstorms. We'll be looking at a low of 66, a high tomorrow of 83. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Now that Ken Richards has purchased Brokers Agency, he and his professional staff will continue to provide their clients with the same excellent service under the Brokers Insurance Agency name. Brokers Insurance Agency works with more than 15 companies to help find the best policy for you to avoid any long hassles. Also, if you're looking to get into the insurance business as an independent agent, they have the formula to make that process smooth and successful. Call Ken with Brokers Insurance Agency today at 402-420-5353 or visit brokersinsuranceNE.com.
Hi, this is Kurt, your shop manager at A1 Automotive here in downtown Lincoln. My promise to you is this: you won't find another automotive repair facility that genuinely cares about you and your vehicle. Our service is outstanding and our customer service is better. Please give me a call for all your automotive repair questions and needs. Call me at 402-477-4660. We were built on small town values, and that shows in how we treat others. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Tailgating wasn't just meant for weekends. Join 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday at Chick-fil-A for Tailgate Tuesdays. Scan your app with any purchase on Tuesdays and you'll be entered to win a tailgate meal for 15 people. That's chicken nuggets, fresh fruit, and iced tea or lemonade. Winners will be contacted each Wednesday, and you can come see Tom and Bach from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the 48th and O location or at South Point each week. It's Tailgate Tuesdays all season long at Chick-fil-A in Lincoln.
T.O. Haas Tire and Auto.
T.O. Haas Tire reminds you there's still plenty of summer left for one more long weekend, one more day in the sun, or one more getaway drive down your favorite road to enjoy one last stretch of summer. And we're here to help with up to $100 back on a new set of Michelin tires, including the all-new Cross Climate 2.
T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, a tradition of trust.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here on the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Nick Sainert, riding solo with you today. Like I said a little bit ago, we've heard a couple quotes from him thus far. Scott Frost spoke to the media today, just about 2 hours ago. And this one might ruffle some feathers, so I just want to send that disclaimer out there right away. And I'll get to your text after this, because I know you guys will have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this. As always, like I said, 402-464-5685, as well as on the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I'll be able to throw your comment up there on the screen here once you send it in. So Frost was asked about who was calling plays and everything like that, because, back towards the end of the season last year, there was that discussion of, it's been part Lubick, part Frost, and maybe Frost will give up a bigger portion of it to Matt Lubick. And the fans seem to like that idea, because then Frost could worry about more of the administrative role within the football program and not just calling plays. Here's Scott Frost when he was asked who was calling the plays.
Lubick calling the plays on Saturday, or was it you?
No, I was calling the plays.
Was there a moment where you reconsidered that? Like, because you had kind of talked about Matt kind of doing it, and then
No, I haven't talked about Matt and I doing it. We collaborate. The whole staff collaborates, and it was just an interesting game because about half of our game plan was kind of out the window when they came up and lined up the way they did. So we really had to scramble and go to alternative plan and try to adjust, and did some good things, but not enough of them.
They threw out half the game plan when they showed up in a different front than what they prepared for. What are you thinking? 402-464-5685. Let that marinate a little bit. Obviously, part of any sport is trying to fool your opponent, right? And that involves, giving them looks, where it's in baseball, it could be throwing a pitcher and throwing backwards in a count. In football, it's giving a different front up in the trenches. So once again, send in those texts on your thoughts as that as well. All right, back to the quarterback discussion. Do you think Martinez even trusts his own throwing, and that's why he scrambles and runs so much late in the game? I feel like that's a one that only Adrian can assess truthfully. Somebody else says, I hope that Logan Smothers is licking his chops as a backup, saying I can do better than this. When I get my chance, I'm going to dominate. You hope so. Well, and you hope that should be the mentality of every guy on the Husker roster. The competitive edge needs to be second to none if you're going to play for Nebraska. And if it's not, that just shows you the expectations that you're okay with as not only a player, but as a coaching staff, as a fan. I've said it before, and I'll say it many times, probably quite a bit this week. When it comes to the sellout streak and stuff, which we were going to talk about here in a couple minutes, is, listen, you can't compare stuff to the 90s when you're okay with 6 wins. You can't have that expectation of 6 wins and be okay with, hey, we only need to make a bowl game. You can be realistic and say that this is where that program is at. And after Saturday, you're trying to navigate that schedule, looking at, a Northwestern game that at the beginning of the year was 50-50, like it always is, like a lot of the Big Ten West matchups are, and say, then Hunter Johnson, a surprising starter over Ryan Helinski, the South Carolina transfer quarterback. Hunter Johnson wins the job. And then in the running back room, their starter, his name's blanking me, he got injured, out for the year. So then, personally for me, before the season started and before I saw their product on Saturday, I said, you know what, maybe with all that stuff going on in Northwestern, they're only returning 29% of their offensive production. They're only returning 20% of their defensive production. Obviously, they're going to be disciplined like they always are. But man, with a unproven starting quarterback in Hunter Johnson, yes, he was a former 5-star, but he didn't play at Clemson. That's why he transferred to Northwestern. Lost the job last year. Yes, he was able to win the job this year, but now they're starting running backs out. Maybe that game is leaning towards Nebraska a little bit more. Maybe it's a 70-30 type of matchup instead of a 50-50 matchup. However, after seeing Saturday's game, I think it's more of a 50-50 again. I think we're back to the drawing board. Square one. Continue to look at some of these texts here. One thing that I would also like to mention is with Scott Frost's offense, there's always players open every play. If there's a passing play, there's players open. Number one, that's finding the players if you're the quarterback. Number two, that also, you have to rely on your defense or your offensive line a little bit to keep a clean enough pocket for a long enough time to where Adrian can find or let the play develop if that's what needs to happen. We have a phone call here, 402-464-5685, Honda Living Hotline, Starter Heyman text line. We have Boone on the line. Boone, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. What's up?
Question. Does anybody out there feel that a lot of this falls on Mario?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, doesn't a lot of this fall on Mario Verduchka?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, and obviously Adrian's not progressing.
Well, I feel like, thanks Boone for the call. And personally, I will say that's one of those things that you probably have to be within the coaching staff or be tied in to know. And maybe somebody else at the station would know more than I do. However, my rebuttal to that is Scott Frost was a quarterback, and eventually it all kind of goes back to him and saying, hey, Mario's under you. And that's accountability, right? Hold your players accountable, hold your coaching staff accountable. And so that's why I just went straight for the source, Boone. But there's definitely a question there. And actually today, Adrian Martinez was asked about that. Let me see if I can find that quote, because Mario Verduzco is now on the field and not in the box. Ryan Held is up in the box. And Frost was asked about why they decided to do that. And he said that a guy like Ryan Held can just see things differently up in the box, and it gives them a little more of advantage. So that's why they chose to go that route this year. And Adrian Martinez was asked about if that was his doing. And he's like, I just don't want to really comment on that. Well, here is Adrian Martinez discussing Verduzco being on the field and what kind of benefit that gives him as a quarterback, both emotionally and schematically and fundamental, to help him out during the game.
Yeah, I love Verduzco on the field. I loved him on the field. And I loved him in the box too, but he brings a certain presence, and I love being able to go to the sideline and talk to him. He really did a good job of making sure the QB unit was around some of the other positions as well, and excited for what's to come in that area.
And so, unfortunately, on that quote, I'll try to find it during the break. He didn't mention that he doesn't really want to talk about how that all came about. All right, let's move on here. The sellout streak. That's a big talking point this week, right? Nebraska could lose the sellout streak to a very mediocre opponent in Fordham. This is where I might bother some of you guys. Okay, and this is where I want, as Qdoba guy said earlier, don't go easy on me today. I don't want you to go easy on me. Okay, tell me your truth. Tell me your opinion. And remember, I'm a 20-year-old kid, so my sample size isn't necessarily huge, but I understand what the 90s kind of meant, and I've done my research to an extent. So I want to keep that in mind. That this is the opinion and the thought from a 20-year-old, a college kid also, because this is what a lot of the college kids are thinking as well. Sellout streak doesn't really mean that much anymore to me personally. And there might be people out there saying, oh, Nick, how dare you? The sellout streak, that's the one record Nebraska has after the Huskers in the Super Bowl, got disbanded or whatever. And the sellout streak's the one streak and one record that Nebraska has. It's going to end eventually. But the way I look at it is the last 3 years, and you can even probably go a little bit farther back. Going a little bit farther back, how authentic has it been? Are we really okay with saying, oh yeah, boosters, alumni, please buy up these Fordham tickets for $7 a piece just so we can put another number up there? What are your thoughts? I was there for the 300th against Miami, I believe is when it was. Abdullah had that touchdown down the side. Awesome atmosphere. I remember what that night was like. I remember what it was like when Wisconsin came to town. It was blackout, and Micah Parsons was the biggest name of recruit. It was the biggest weekend in Mike Riley's recruiting weekend or recruiting time. And so, what's your thought? How disappointed are you going to be if the sellout streak ends on Saturday? I don't think anybody's going to get close to us. Nebraska's probably going to start up another streak once, hopefully if they start winning, like everybody's hoping for, the media and the fans and the players, I'm sure. But also, I guess on one hand, this Saturday with tickets at $7 a pop at the cheapest, you have a larger family, I suppose you can afford to go there. 402-464-5685. We have Don on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Don, what's up, man?
Nothing much. Just kind of how you're talking about for the short sample size you have for Husker football. I got you about by 20 years, but I lived through the late 80s, through the 90s, and made it through the seasons of Jamal Lord and every other quarterback that you could kind of think about. I mean, as much as I love that we have the streak, if we're clinging to the streak, we're clinging to the wrong things as a fan base. We should be clinging to trying to support our team. Granted, it's very hard right now. We're mentally and emotionally frustrated. Having the streak go to the wayside should probably unify us into thinking, you know what, we need to be supportive. We need to be looking at ways to either be heard as a fan base to try to bring in the right people, at the same time, not driving the right people away. I mean, like when we did the AD search, when you had certain people say, nope, I don't want that, that reflects on us as a fan base. So I'll let you go from there. Great show, Nick.
Thanks,
Talk to you later.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate the phone call. We get this off the Starter Heyman text line from Tommy Gunn. It says, Nick, if Nebraska doesn't keep the sellout streak, the stands could be half full and could be the new normal moving forward. My rebuttal to that, look at Ohio State a couple years ago when game day came to town. Look at Iowa a couple years before that, Mike Riley's last game. The stands were half full by the second quarter. And since when have the stands been 100% sellout full in the last 5 years? You can go both ways. Yes, the idea of holding on and Nebraska, we know Nebraska football is full of pride and rightfully so. And I understand diehard fans want to cling on to something. I would consider myself a diehard fan. However, at some point, it's like just wipe the slate clean and start over. And you kind of felt like that's what it was when Scott Frost took over. And now 3 years and a game into it, still feels like Nebraska is still missing something when it comes to wiping the slate clean and starting over. I understand it would be awesome to keep that streak going and see it reach 500 eventually. It would be awesome. But I just keep going back to that game against Miami for the 300th consecutive sellout. I believe it was 300. I could be wrong on that. It was somewhere close to that. It was pretty, it was a pretty big day, just, rivalry wise and everything. But I don't know if a game could, if Miami came this year, would you get an authentic sellout? Miami's Miami's not a top 5 program. Nebraska is certainly not a top 25 program. They showed that on Saturday. I'm not saying it's okay. It's not okay to be disappointed if the sellout streak ends on Saturday or if it ends against Buffalo or ends down the road. I'm just wondering, how many of us have asked ourselves, how authentic has it been the last couple years and everything like that? I mean, the announced, I don't know if this is direct or if I'm thinking of a different game, but for some reason that College Game Day game against Ohio State, when the stands were, I was there. I was in the student section up there. I was there 2 hours before the game started, thinking, oh man, if Nebraska just stops Chase Young, if they can just, if the offensive line can hold up long enough where Adrian Martinez gets and then gets enough time in the pocket, or, and then it was Justin Fields kind of took over, and then they had that tipped interception right at the goal line that kind of just took the wind out of the sails for Nebraska. People started leaving at that moment. And not only students. And so that's just what I was thinking about, is I just don't know how authentic it has been the last couple years. Let's take one final timeout. We'll wrap up with some happier news. IMG Academy played an interesting opponent over the weekend that caused some commotion with some ESPN broadcasters. If you haven't seen this, I will get the clip during the break and we'll play it after the break ends. And then Javier Baez, former Cubby, is not New York's favorite either. So we'll talk about that and more. One final timeout here on the Happy Hour.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Herrick Services takes this time to wish everyone a happy and healthy Labor Day weekend. We are thankful for all the hard workers in this country that make it great and celebrate with them all with well-deserved time off this weekend. This important message comes to you from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending specialist here in Lincoln. Their quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. That's Herrick Services on the air because they care.
At Koppel, you can shop online for the most affordable crossovers, SUVs, cars, and trucks. They have new Chevrolet and GMC or used inventory, all at your fingertips. Hi, I'm Sean Callahan, and before I got my car at Koppel, I shopped online at koppelcars.com. I found a vehicle I liked, then I drove that money-saving mile to Koppel in Louisville. You should too. It was just minutes from I-80 or at koppelcars.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I wanted to see a team that was pissed, that was urgent, and I saw that from the get-go from the defense. Man, they look good. The defense was getting in the backfield right away. Those first couple drives, oh my gosh. Man. And then it just stopped. I said, this can't be a couple drives. It's got to be a full 60 minutes. If you are going to tell me, Cam Taylor-Britt, on Monday that this is your Super Bowl for the year, I better see 60 minutes of hell out there. Fire. I didn't see.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
At MD Pain, we know chronic pain is a problem. It can lead to isolation, depression, and the inability for you or a loved one to live the life you want. That doesn't need to happen. Chronic pain can be effectively managed. The doctors of MD Pain wrote the book on effective, ethical pain management. Get actual solutions with the most up-to-date, clinically proven treatment options available. No one has to suffer in silence. Get real treatment for chronic pain. Call MD Pain.
Tailgating wasn't just meant for weekends. Join 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday at Chick-fil-A for Tailgate Tuesdays. Scan your app with any purchase on Tuesdays and you'll be entered to win a tailgate meal for 15 people. That's chicken nuggets, fresh fruit, and iced tea or lemonade. Winners will be contacted each Wednesday, and you can come see Tom and Bach from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the 48th and O location or at South Point each week. It's Tailgate Tuesdays all season long at Chick-fil-A in Lincoln.
Are you dragging through each day? Most people are dehydrated or deficient in essential vitamins, minerals, and more. Live Hydration Spa helps you get more out of your life with their IV hydration treatments to help with anti-aging, weight loss, endurance, and more. Their performance packages can help you feel better doing your normal daily routine with boosts of energy and vitality, an increase in immunity, and quicker athletic recovery. Call today for an appointment at 402-413-2042 or walk in at 71st and Pioneers. Live Hydration Spa.
Right now in Nebraska, over 150 AmeriCorps members are using their talent and passion to make our communities better. AmeriCorps is all about overcoming the challenges our country faces through compassion and teamwork. And the best part, every AmeriCorps adventure is unique. Find out what AmeriCorps can be for you by starting your own adventure today. Learn more about AmeriCorps programming in Nebraska by checking out Serve Nebraska on social media. Sponsored by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Kurt, your shop manager at A1 Automotive here in downtown Lincoln. My promise to you is this: you won't find another automotive repair facility that genuinely cares about you and your vehicle. Our service is outstanding and our customer service is better. Please give me a call for all your automotive repair questions and needs. Call me at 402-477-4660. We were built on small town values, and that shows in how we treat others. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
T.O. Haas Tire and Auto.
T.O. Haas Tire reminds you there's still plenty of summer left for one more long weekend, one more day in the sun, or one more getaway drive down your favorite road to enjoy one last stretch of summer. And we're here to help with up to $100 back on a new set of Michelin tires, including the all-new Cross Climate 2.
T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, a tradition of trust.
Now that Ken Richards has purchased Brokers Agency, he and his professional staff will continue to provide their clients with the same excellent service under the Brokers Insurance Agency name. Brokers Insurance Agency works with more than 15 companies to help find the best policy for you to avoid any long hassles. Also, if you're looking to get into the insurance business as an independent agent, they have the formula to make that process smooth and successful. Call Ken with Brokers Insurance Agency today at 402-420-5353 or visit brokersinsurancene.com.
Now back to the happy hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here one final time on the happy hour, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. I wanted to get to this real quick text here. Adam says he was at Ohio State too. He was a student. He went to game day the night before and stayed all night. Left at halftime, first time he's ever left a game early. Yeah, I camped out all night too, Adam. That was a highlight of my first year of college there, despite the people chucking Monsters and chocolate milk and Hostess donuts at people. That was not the highlight. All right, so real quickly here, we only have about a minute and a half left here. IMG Academy, let's say it normal, Nick. They played Bishop Sycamore on this weekend on ESPN2. IMG won 58-0. And basically, Bishop Sycamore made people believe, the ESPN broadcasters more specifically, that they had these high-level recruits. And in the middle of the game, when they're down 30-0 with about 7 minutes left, the ESPN broadcasters brought it up.
Bishop Sycamore told us they had a number of Division I prospects on their roster. To be frank, a lot of that we could not verify. And they did not show up in our database. They did not show up in the databases of other recruiting services. So it's okay. If that's what you're telling us, fine. That's how we take it in. From what we've seen so far, this is not a fair fight. And there's got to be a point now, Ludes, where you do worry about health and safety.
So IMG Academy went on to win 58-0 over Bishop Sycamore this weekend. So wanted to end on a light note there. I know this wasn't the happiest of happy hours, but I appreciate you guys keeping me company, both on the text line and on the Hot of Lincoln hotline, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll talk about more of this tomorrow. Fordham is this week. Maybe they bring Frank Solich back to attract some more tickets. Tickets are $7, as cheap as $7, I should say, this weekend. So Husker volleyball won. That's a good thing, right? John Cook spoke to the media today. We'll get to some of that tomorrow. Appreciate you guys keeping me company. DP is next with one-on-one and DP and J at 4. We'll do this again tomorrow. Talk to you then.
At Madonna Therapy Plus, your health and safety is our first priority. Whether you're